morning. We'll go ahead and call our meeting to order. And we don't have a quorum today, so we won't be voting on anything. We will table the approval of the minutes until the next meeting. But we will go ahead and hear the financial report from Ms. Bartlett.
You should have the financial statements in your packets. It's pretty self-explanatory. We're at 3/12 of the way through the year, the budget year, so we're at 25%, and our income's at 25%, and our expenses are at 29%. So we are a little bit high. That is primarily because, and I've said this last month, it's going to happen the rest of the year because of the $8,000 repair to the air conditioner. It goes in expenses. There's no way not to do that. But most of the things that are over 25% of budget are, except for the air conditioner, of course, are things like brick sales and the corresponding engraving for the bricks, or merchandise sales and the corresponding purchase for merchandise, and those all make us money, not. So that's a good thing to be over on 25%. I can answer any questions you have if you see anything.
Good to me. Thank you, Cheryl. Next on the agenda is our end of the year report.
So I was just going to run through the end of the year report for fiscal year ending 2019 that I presented at City Council, just to give y'all a better understanding of where we were and where we're headed. Maybe. I might need to do this.
Yeah, I can do that.
No, that's fine. Thank you. Yeah, thank you, thank you. Oh, I didn't have it turned on. Okay. So the Charles Bright Visitor Center played host to over 14,000 walk-in guests in fiscal year 19, including international travelers, and that was a 13% increase over what we measured last year. We responded to over 4,500 requests for information that we mailed out, and that was actually a 14% decrease over the prior fiscal year. But then I decided to dive deeper into our analytics, and we didn't have any benchmark to compare it to, but we did have over 15,000 downloads of our visitor information, which, as we move forward and keep track of that, it might show that people are just accessing our information differently and moving more towards a digital thing. So 14% decrease doesn't sound great, but that's 14% less in postage and printing cost and things of that nature. So it's, as always, there's a little bit good, a little bit of possibly bad in that, but 15,000 downloads is pretty good in my opinion. Our paid print marketing, we still maintained our presence in Texas Monthly, Texas Highways, all of these publications. And we were able to do all of that with a sizable presence for $183,000. That was our total marketing expenses, including paid digital marketing. And these are some examples of some of the print advertising that we've done. In some cases, in Texas Highways, we did move to a third-page vertical, like you see on the first part of the slide. For Christmas, we decided to focus, instead of the lights in downtown, on our retail, unique to antique, think outside the big box. And actually currently running in the January issue of Texas Highways is this Reconnect, Rekindle, Recharge, which is where we are right now as we bide our time until azalea season, marketing Nacogdoches as a getaway retreat for couples, for girlfriends, for guy friends, for families, that sort of thing. And the next to Blueberry, we usually start running those ads in May. Azaleas will be our next one seasonally. And just a few more examples. The last one, Get Back, Jack, that ran in sawdust. and the 300 Years of Texas History, a third-page vertical of that ran in Texas Highways.
Now, we run these in all the publications that we pay.
Some version of our pillar marketing, yes, sir. We don't have insertions necessarily in every month, in every issue. We just can't afford that, first of all, and we kind of spread it out, and we look at the content of that issue. So if it's historic content in the rest of the magazine, we'll do our best to find something that's adjacent, one of our marketing messages that's adjacent to that message. So theoretically, if it was a barbecue Texas Monthly Edition, then if we could do a food-related ad to that. Social media marketing. Presence on our Facebook post has an earned media value of just about $24,000, and that's based, I'll cite the reference of the algorithm on the last slide of social media marketing. But that's what, to get the same amount of reach and exposure, if you were to go to an advertising agency or a marketing specialist whose expertise was in social media, that would be an estimate of what you would have to pay to get that kind of exposure. And it's based on our audience and our reach and engagement.
Sherry, is there an equation for that, or is there a?
There is, and I'll cite it at the end, and I can
Okay.
forward you the
I would love
information
that.
too. Yeah. Our target markets, top 5 cities listed are Nacogdoches, Houston, Lufkin, Dallas, and Austin. Top 5 countries, United States, Mexico, United Kingdom, Germany, and India. Our Instagram, and it's according to the algorithm, has an earned media value of $224,767. We're seeing growth in our Instagram followers. Facebook is by far our most engaged social media platform, and we're trying to maintain and still grow that, but really shift some attention on our other platforms so to bring them up to where we are on Facebook. And very common cities in those target markets, Nacogdoches, Houston, Austin, Lufkin, and Tyler. The countries change a little bit: United States, Brazil, Mexico, United Kingdom, and India. And then Twitter, earned media value of about 6,800. A little slower on gains there with only 47 followers in the last fiscal year, and we don't have any target market information for Twitter. And the values are provided by the Eisenberg EMV index. And there's another one called Social Chorus that provides an algorithm that you can factor in. That one, the Social Chorus, is a little older. I think it's from 2013. This one, I believe, is 2015, 2016. And these are some of our key metrics that we see from our total social media footprint. And if y'all are interested, I can email you this deck and you can go over it in more detail. But it just confirms the most impressive thing from this slide to me is, I need to get my glasses. Because right now I just see pretty shapes. The sentiment through our subscription with Meltwater, they can measure the response of the public to our brand, Nacogdoches, and we're seeing an increase in the sentiment towards Nacogdoches, which they measure by use of common words. They assign sentimentality values to words or phrases in the comments and shares of our post on social media. And this sort of reiterates the dark blue is our Facebook, lighter blue is Twitter, and that yellow little slice is Instagram. This is popularity trend and spike analysis. We can run these for any amount of time that we want, and it pulls up the posts that we've made on the platform of our choosing that had the most hits. And so this one you can see when Insomnia Cookies launched, when Secretary Julian Castro visited, and Meet the Jacks. Coach Carthel has a very strong social media follow, so his Twitter account accounts for a lot of that sentiment towards. He has a lot of momentum behind his social media presence that we can borrow from. And because I'm a sucker for a word cloud, I always just think those are neat. So these are the words that come up. The larger the word, the more of a presence it has. And so you can see Texas, oldest beautiful town, Axum, Keep Nack beautiful. So it's a visual representation of those words that come to mind most frequently when the topic is Nacogdoches. Our gender breakdown, you can see males are up to 61%. And these, we don't have a end of the year. This was from our last quarter of social media. We should be getting our total end of the year meltwater report like this in the next coming weeks, but I took the most recent that I could find for the report. So it's a little odd that our male audience is so high. Typically that's flipped, and it does vary from platform to platform. However, just cumulatively, our male followers outnumber our female followers.
Thought it would have been reversed.
I know, usually it is. That surprised me too. This references just our website, and so you can see on the first pie chart, the blue indicates new visitors, and then the green are returning visitors. So that's good. We want to see that green piece as small as possible, because that means we're not sending our message out to the same people all the time, but our message is being seen by new people, and these are unique visitors. So we had about 98,000 unique visitors to our website last year. And then that bottom pie chart shows the source of that traffic. So was it an organic search? Somebody typed in Nacogdoches. Was it a link on somebody else's page that led them there? And then this breaks down, and this slide actually brings forth some pretty interesting information. If you look on the visits and page visits by city, you'll see that fourth down is Chicago, with not a small number of people, almost 6,000 visitors, and then that holds true down below in the visits by region. You can see that Illinois is the second most visited region to our website that hasn't been there before. And then by country, United States, Canada, France, India. So pretty interesting. The only thing that we really did different was that run that we did at the very end of the fiscal year in Southern Traveler, which primarily focused on the southeastern seaboard and Florida, so not necessarily our state and our touch states that we typically market towards. So that was an interesting test market opportunity, and as we can, we'll look for more opportunities to use that to test maybe different messages and speak to some different audiences and see. I just recently spoke to somebody that just recently moved to Nacogdoches, and he was telling me for his interest, we're missing out on marketing to collectors of mid-century modern art, because we have so much original mid-century architecture in our town, and then also objects that are not replicas. They're authentic to that era, but that's apparently a really large niche market that we could start drawing in people from Palm Springs and some more metropolitan, the Seattle area. Unfortunately, media buys in those larger markets are more expensive too. So, meetings and events. For fiscal year 19, we had 45 meetings and events with an estimated economic impact of just under $3 million. Last year, we were just over $3 million, but with fewer events. So we had more groups overall, but fewer stays, so more one-day conferences. And then we also spent a majority of this past fiscal year laying groundwork for several groups that will be coming in the next 2 to 3 years. And as always, we've been working to improve our partnerships with the university and with the Expo Center. We worked on our services that we can offer. We increased room rentals in our space in the Visitor Center. We started offering Texas-friendly customer service training for free for businesses or individuals that would like to be certified Texas-friendly. And again, that's a program through Texas AgriLife. And it's a whole curated curriculum that we're trained to train people. In community partnerships for CVB usage for major events, so we've started to stay open, keep the Visitor Center open for Wine Swirl and for the Christmas Parade, where before we were not open, and that really hasn't necessarily helped us in selling more merchandise, but it has increased just the strength of our friendships and that's what we can give. We can give people a warm, dry place with bathrooms that aren't on wheels. So people like that, and we like people to like our visitor center. And then this last fiscal year 19 is when we launched our Be Like Mike volunteer recruitment program. We have seen a high influx of new volunteers, and that doesn't mean we don't value our existing volunteers. We certainly do, but many hands make light work, so the more the merrier. I've also been speaking to NEDCO in my community partner reports with the concept of having businesses, if they have new employees that are new to the area, what better way than total immersion to learn all things Nacogdoches than to get a group of your employees in your branded shirt to come in and volunteer at the visitor center. So these people, these 14,000 people that are crossing our threshold in a year, are exposed not only to our community, but to your business specifically. And the importance of it just adds to making people feel welcome, to know they really do care, kind of thing. So, so far nobody's taken me up on that, but that doesn't mean that I won't continue to offer, because I think it's a good idea. And then there's been an increased number, for whatever reason, of me to come speak to groups, and I'm always happy to do that. We also paid focus to our online reviews, primarily through TripAdvisor. Our overall rating was a 4.78 out of 5 stars, with there'll be some example comments coming through. And we have a certificate of excellence, I think, for the 10th year running, because we maintain a very high rating. We've never dipped below a 4. One thing that two things that we've done differently, we invested in business cards that ask people to leave reviews. A few years back, I went to Branson, and they have that on the front desk of every hotel, of every restaurant, always trying to get the visitor experience review out of that. So we've done a little bit of that, and then I've also been going through as manager to respond to the reviews that have been left, and to make sure that they know that we recognize that they have a choice in where they travel, and we're very happy that they chose Nacogdoches, and thrilled that they had a great experience, and invite them to come back. So these are some example reviews. Most of them, rightfully so, mention Mike. So we just, and then there's an example at the very bottom of one of my responses. So it's good affirmation that our efforts are hitting and striking the chords that we want them to strike, because, you know, if you've ever watched Mike interact with a customer, and really it's best if you can watch him in a window, because it's not patter. He doesn't say the same thing over and over again. It is very nuanced to that person. He's able to ask questions in a manner it doesn't feel like an interrogation. He gives off the feeling that if you need 15 minutes of information or an hour, he is there for as long as you need him. So he really is just the epitome of hospitality, and I can't say, there are no words to say how thankful I am. So we are certainly very lucky to have him. And finally, hotel occupancy. We were up over last year by 1.1%. The industry as a whole saw a slump last year. It has to do with political climate, how the stock market's doing. There's a lot of factors that go in nationally to travel habits and patterns. So we're faring better than most. Certainly, we always like to see that a large number on the other side of the plus sign. So, and then that's our staff, and that's you. Any questions or comments?
It's very good.
All right. Well, I'll just go right into staff reports, and I'll give mine. Before Christmas, we experienced a circuit fire in our electrical box that controls the stage and the west side of our lights and things like that. But it was caught early, and there's no damage necessarily except to the circuit box. The part alone for that is $2,500, and we have no other choice but to handle it. I did go to Mr. Jeffers and ask for assistance, since that really is, in my opinion, that's a shared area. The city uses that space a lot, and we do have rental rates for the stage, but we don't charge usage to the city or to the Chamber of Commerce. So it's not an instance like the restroom trailer where the fees associated with renting that go into an account to pay for any repairs that might be necessary. And he did release the funds for that. We've also had some decay in the, I don't know what it's called, but on our second floor windows, there's glass and then there's the wood parts that make the panes. Well, those are rotted and water was getting into the building. So that's another, I thought it was going to be $8,500, but the bid came through and it's a little over $5,000. And then, of course, the air conditioner. So that first quarter of this fiscal year has been really painful. And hopefully we can get her back to the place where we can have some years that we aren't.
Who would be doing the window replacement?
It's not Cox. It was the lowest bid, and I'm not familiar with the company, but I can email you if you want. So anyway, those are things that have to be done, and it's great to be in a historic building, but there's also a different side to that coin, and we want to take care of her because we are it goes into the whole experience, and it's the right thing to do to honor the legacy of that building. In front of you is the most recent STAR report. I should be getting a new one. They said on the 17th, but it hadn't come in before this meeting. So this is from November. It was not a good month. You can see that occupancy was down 17.6%, which led us year-to-date into a negative of just under 1%. Typically, we do slump a little in November, so I'll be interested to see what the December numbers show. I feel like, just observationally, that we had a strong December. Hopefully, the numbers will support that.
Okay.
And Joanna is not here. Her father is in the hospital with some heart issues. What she has been working on, we decided to go towards an advertised dining guide to replace the dining guide brochure that we had. And so you have 2 sheets, front and back. Joanna went out and sold ad space. We're doing a short run of these. We're using a company called Spring Hill Press out of Missouri. And this will be information that we send out to visitors requesting, and we'll mail them out, and then we'll also have them on site. Hoping to do a short run just to see how it goes and tweak it as we need, because this is a new venture for us, so we don't want to be so heavily invested in quantity that we have to keep something, and plus it's outdated.
This is not final form, is it?
No, ma'am.
Okay, there's some spell work.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, restaurant.
Yeah, and Nine Flags still has their East Main address, so if you see anything else like that, you can email Joanna, because she's the one in charge of this. So we're hopeful about this. Again, we're always looking for ways that we can offset cost of collateral. And also, long-term, I would really like to move away from a standalone visitor's guide brochure. It seems to me very cluttered, and we have to ask a lot of questions when people want information about Nacogdoches. So if they want general information, we have a general brochure. If they want information about the azaleas, then we have an azalea brochure. If they want history, we have a history brochure. Well, people don't know what they don't know. And if they might be interested in history as well as azalea, but we don't have enough time, and that's just a long, awkward conversation to go through a tick list of every brochure that we offer, and then they're on the spot because they just wanted information. They're like, just give it all to me. So I'd like to move away from those individual brochures and creating a magazine editorial style experience guide that would be not completely evergreen, but certainly would be positioned in such a way that all of those topics are addressed in a very nice aesthetic, still informative. So that's kind of long-term, like 5 years out, I'd really like to get to that place. I just think it would serve us better. And in that editorial format, we are such a visually stunning community. I think it plays to our strengths, so we would have more space to highlight photography of the places and that visual imagery to help tell the stories and pull people
Would
in.
that go into the ticks, or would you keep a rack card there, or what would you, the travel information centers, would you do that, or?
You know, we had the travel counselors in, and I did talk to a few of them to make sure that, you know, there's space for things like that. And more destinations are doing away with visitor guides. They're moving completely to a digital presence, and they're not printing. So there's no lack of space in the ticks. You know, the question is, we could do a smaller, like Reader's Digest size, or we could do a full magazine size. And Texas Parks and Wildlife have gone to that full size as well. So I think there's space there. But then, you know, those would cost more to mail out. So you have to consider the big picture. But I think in line with the scope of our mission, that might be, to me, it seems like a better way to go. And it's not one of a myriad of brochures that might get lost, or, you know, it's going to have enough of a presence that you can hang on to it and hopefully be visually informative enough that people will keep it just to have it, you know.
What do we have there now, Sherry, at the travel information
Our
centers?
general information brochure.
Okay. Do you switch it out during Azalea, for the Azalea brochure? Okay.
No.
I know that'd be hard to do.
Well, yeah, and our Azalea brochure is a rack card, so it would need some more context around it. We could certainly augment the general information brochure with Azalea presence. That's a really good idea. We can look into doing that, because that's
One
just,
more question, I'm sorry.
No, you're
But
fine.
Is this gonna be like a tear-off pad at the front for
it
people?
is a folded
Okay.
map size. So it folds up, so the front page will have a very foodie image on it. There'll be listings of people that didn't want to pay the full, I think it was $3.50 for an ad, for the small ad space, but they were able to buy in for $100 to have a listing on the back panel. And then as you unfold it, this is the inside part of it. All right. If there's no more questions, I will turn it over to Ashley.
So just to add on to Joanna's report, since she's not here, she wanted me to mention to y'all that we got an end-of-year report from Eventbrite, and we sold 213 tickets over 4 events, and 53% of our consumers were out-of-towners. So that was pretty interesting. So that means we're drawing in a lot of people out of town for our wine, whiskey, brew tours, which are what we mainly use Eventbrite for. And for my report, so I just submitted our Azalea ad to Southern Living, that publication that Sherry told y'all about. That's mainly in the southeastern part of the U.S. And it's pretty clever. We did it with Hancock Advertising. It says, "Have you seen our bloomers?" So we felt like that was a good market to test something a little more scandalous. And so I'm working on several projects right now. The biggest one would be with Mike Koenig. I'm not sure if y'all know him, but he is working at the CVB with us on his own stuff, but also helping us with video content, because he is a videographer and can also edit. So we're going to be working on something like a Tasty Tuesday, except for not Tasty Tuesday, because we don't like that name, and we want to give love to other days of the week. But basically, we'll be going around to restaurants and doing some filming of the restaurant owners, the people that work there, and just kind of showcasing the diverse cuisine that we have in Nacogdoches, because I think that is one of our strengths. We've got like Barkeeps and Shali's Indian food, and so look for those on social media in the coming months, and it's going to be a little bit different each time to really show how diverse we are. And we are continuing to position Nacogdoches as a music destination via our Knack for Music campaign, and we just had a meeting last night to line up some acts for February and March. So we're going to be doing that every Thursday for the coming months, so please spread the word if you can. And if you know anybody that wants to kind of use us as a breakout role, we would love to get more acts. We've got February almost covered, and March is filling up fast, but we're definitely going to be needing acts for April and May as well. And we're planning on collaborating with the city and also SFA to position the Knack for Music around like Parents Weekend or Family Weekend, and have something on our back porch so that there can be like a shopping event to bring the parents downtown while the kids are at whatever those events are, orientation and whatnot. So I'm really excited about that. I think it's going to be a great piece that benefits everybody. So yeah, just be on the lookout for that. Do y'all have any questions or comments?
I don't think so. Good
Thank
job,
y'all.
though. Alrighty. That was our last staff report, I believe.
I believe I saw Mike come in earlier, but he must have had to go back. His report is printed out in your board book.
And rather than setting a time for our next meeting, we will poll the board members and see if there's a better day where everyone can meet, a better morning. And so Sherry, once you have that information, if you could figure out what day that would be in February, and just let us know what the optimal time for that. And if there are no other announcements, we will adjourn.
Thank you. Did a good job.